Imagine this. You're always the nice one. You go out of your way to help others, even at the cost of your own peace. But instead of appreciation, people take advantage of you. They expect more, push your boundaries, and never reciprocate. Sound familiar? This is the harsh truth of being nice. But what if I told you there's a better way? A way to live with dignity, earn true respect, and still have a good heart. The answer: be kind, not nice. In this video, I'm going to reveal the powerful truth about why kindness is far superior to being nice and how it can transform your life, your relationships, and even your mental health. Stick around, because once you understand the difference, you'll never look at the world the same way. But before we dive in, if you find value in understanding life-changing perspectives like this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's grow this community of powerful minds together. 1. The difference between kindness and niceness. Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself saying yes to something you didn't want to do, just because you didn't want to upset someone? Maybe you smiled and agreed with someone's opinion, even though deep down you completely disagreed. Or perhaps you let someone take advantage of your time, energy, or kindness simply because you didn't want to cause conflict or seem rude. If this sounds familiar, it's because you've been taught, like so many of us, that being nice is the right thing to do. Society often glorifies niceness, but what they don't tell you is that it comes with a dangerous cost. Being nice is not the same as being kind, and understanding this difference can change your life. Here's the truth about being nice. Niceness is often a mask. It's not always about being good-hearted or genuine. It's about avoiding discomfort. Think about it. When you're nice, what are you really doing? You're prioritizing other people's feelings and comfort over your own. You're avoiding conflict, seeking approval, and often bending over backward to please others, even when it hurts you. And why do we do this? It's because we fear rejection. We're scared that if we don't agree, if we don't smile, if we don't go along with what others want, we'll be judged, disliked, or even abandoned. Niceness doesn't come from strength, it comes from insecurity. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with being polite or considerate. But when niceness means betraying your own needs, staying silent when you should speak up, or tolerating behavior that's harmful just to keep the peace, that is when it becomes a problem. Now let's talk about kindness and why it's completely different. Kindness is not about fear. It doesn't come from a place of insecurity or the need to be liked. Kindness is rooted in strength. It's about genuine care for others, but it's also about knowing your worth. A kind person doesn't try to avoid conflict at all costs. They don't sacrifice their own well-being to make others happy. Instead, they understand that true kindness means setting boundaries and standing firm when necessary. They know how to say no when something crosses the line, and they're not afraid to speak their truth, even if it makes someone uncomfortable. Kindness is balanced. It's compassionate but not weak. It's empathetic but never self-sacrificing. And most importantly, kindness doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It means doing what's right, even when it's hard. Let me break this down further with a powerful example. Imagine a situation where a friend constantly takes advantage of you. They call you only when they need help, they never check on you, and they never return the favor. If you're being nice, you'll keep helping them, right? You'll keep saying yes, even though you're exhausted, because you don't want to upset them or seem selfish. But if you're being kind, you'll handle it differently. You'll recognize that helping them all the time isn't fair to you. You'll communicate your feelings honestly and let them know that while you care about them, you can't keep giving when it's one-sided. That's kindness. It's truthful, respectful, and grounded in self-respect. And here's the kicker. When you're nice, people might like you, but they won't respect you. They'll see you as someone who's easy to push around, someone who will always say yes, no matter what. But when you're kind, people respect you. They may not always agree with you, but they'll admire your strength, your honesty, and your ability to stand up for yourself while still caring for others. The bottom line is this: niceness is about pleasing people to gain approval. Kindness is about staying true to yourself while still being compassionate. One comes from fear, the other from courage. So ask yourself, do you want to be nice or do you want to be kind? The choice is yours. But let me tell you, the moment you choose kindness over niceness, your life will change. People will stop taking advantage of you, your relationships will become more genuine, and most importantly, you'll start respecting yourself. If this message resonates with you, don't just listen, start living it. Draw the line between being kind and being nice. And remember, being kind isn't just an action, it's a strength. It's a way of living. Choose it. 2. Why being nice can backfire. Let's talk about something that nobody warns you about: the dangerous consequences of being nice. At first glance, being nice seems harmless, maybe even admirable. You're polite, agreeable, and you avoid conflict. You're the person everyone turns to for help because they know you'll never say no. It feels good, doesn't it? To be the nice one? But let me tell you something harsh. Being nice can ruin your relationships, destroy your self-respect, and leave you emotionally drained. Here's why. When you're too nice, people don't see it as kindness. They see it as weakness. People will exploit you. Here's the brutal truth. When you're always agreeable, people will start to take advantage of you. Think about it. If you never say no, if you always put others first, why wouldn't they keep pushing? They'll assume you'll always be there, always willing to help, no matter the cost to yourself. And you might think, it's fine, I'm just being helpful. But here's what happens. Their expectations keep growing. The first time, they might ask for a small favor. The next time, they'll ask for more. And before you know it, you're sacrificing your time, energy, and even your own needs to keep them happy. But do they appreciate it? Rarely. Instead of seeing your niceness as generosity, they see it as something they're entitled to. They stop valuing your efforts because they've come to expect them. And let me tell you, it's a vicious cycle. The more you give, the more they take. You lose self-respect. Now let's get personal. Have you ever done something for someone knowing you didn't want to, but you said yes anyway? Maybe it was a colleague who dumped extra work on you. Maybe it was a friend who guilt-tripped you into helping them out, even when you had no time. Or maybe it was a family member who crossed your boundaries, but you stayed silent to avoid conflict. How did it feel? Not good, right? That's because every time you agree to something you don't want, you're betraying yourself. And trust me, nothing feels worse than that. When you prioritize other people's comfort over your own needs, you send yourself a message. I don't matter. My feelings, my time, and my boundaries aren't important. And over time, this erodes your self-esteem. You stop believing in yourself because you've trained yourself to put everyone else first. Let me be blunt. You cannot respect yourself if you keep sacrificing your own needs for others. And if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? It breeds resentment. Here's where it gets even worse. The more you give, the more you'll notice that no one is giving back. You're always the one who's there for everyone. But when you need help, where are they? Nowhere. And that's when the resentment starts to creep in. At first, you might not even realize it. You'll just feel tired, drained, maybe even frustrated. But over time, that frustration turns into bitterness. You start to feel angry, not just at the people who take advantage of you, but at yourself for letting it happen. The worst part? This resentment can poison your relationships. You start to feel used, undervalued, and unappreciated, and eventually you either explode in anger or withdraw completely, leaving behind broken connections and a whole lot of regret. Why does this happen? Because being nice often comes with unspoken expectations. You're giving, but deep down, you're hoping for something in return: gratitude, appreciation, respect. But when those expectations aren't met, it feels like betrayal. And here's the irony: by trying to be the nice one, you end up creating more conflict, more disappointment, and more pain for yourself and for others. So, what's the solution? Stop being nice and start being kind. Kindness doesn't mean you say yes to everything. It means you care for others while still respecting yourself. It means setting boundaries, speaking your truth, and standing up for your own needs. Because here's the truth: when you're kind, people respect you. They don't exploit you because they know your boundaries. You maintain your self-respect because you're true to yourself. And you avoid resentment because your actions are genuine, not driven by fear or obligation. Being nice might feel like the right thing to do in the moment, but in the long run, it will hurt you. Kindness, on the other hand, is a strength that builds respect, authenticity, and peace. So ask yourself, are you tired of being exploited? Tired of feeling invisible? Tired of being bitter? Then it's time to let go of nice and embrace the power of kindness. Trust me, it's the best gift you can give to yourself and to the world. 3. The power of being kind instead. Let's flip the script now and talk about something transformative. What happens when you stop being nice and start being kind? This simple shift has the power to completely change the way people see you, the way you see yourself, and the quality of your relationships. Because here's the truth: kindness is not weakness. It's a strength, and when you embrace it, the world will start treating you differently. First, kindness commands respect. Let's start with the biggest difference between kindness and niceness: respect. When you're nice, people might like you, but do they respect you? Probably not. Why? Because niceness often comes from a place of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of not being liked. And people can sense that. But when you're kind, it's different. Kindness is rooted in strength. It comes from a place of self-assurance and authenticity. When you're kind, you're not doing things to earn approval or avoid conflict. You're doing them because you choose to. And that's powerful. People respect kindness because it's genuine. They see that your care isn't forced or manipulative. It's real. And they respect your boundaries because they know you're not afraid to stand up for yourself. Imagine this. Someone asks you for a favor, but you're overwhelmed and don't have the time. If you're being nice, you'll probably say yes, even though it stresses you out. But if you're being kind, you'll say, "I'm really sorry, but I can't help this time. I hope you understand." What happens in this scenario? The person respects your honesty. They see that your boundaries are firm and that when you do say yes in the future, it's because you genuinely want to help, not because you feel obligated. That's the power of kindness. It commands respect. Second, you attract authentic relationships. Here's another life-changing benefit of kindness. It acts like a filter. It separates the genuine people in your life from the users and manipulators. When you're nice, you attract people who see you as someone they can take advantage of. They know you'll never say no, so they keep coming back, not because they value you, but because they know they can get something from you. But when you're kind, it's different. Kindness is honest. It's grounded in mutual respect and care. When you're kind, you attract people who appreciate you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. Think about it. Do you really want relationships where you feel drained, unappreciated, and used? Or do you want connections that feel meaningful and reciprocal, where people value your time, your energy, and your boundaries? Kindness helps you build authentic relationships. It weeds out the people who don't deserve your time and makes room for those who truly care about you. And trust me, when you start experiencing the difference, you'll never want to go back to being nice. Third, it empowers you. Finally, and most importantly, kindness is empowering. It's one of the greatest acts of self-love. When you're kind, you're no longer living for other people's approval, you're living for yourself. You're not afraid to say no when something doesn't feel right, and that makes your yes even more powerful. Let me explain. When you're nice, your yes is meaningless. You say yes to everything, even when you don't want to. But when you're kind, your yes is intentional. It's thoughtful. It comes from a place of genuine care. And because of that, it has value. Kindness gives you control over your life. You're no longer at the mercy of other people's expectations. You're free to make decisions that align with your values and your well-being. And that kind of freedom is priceless. The ripple effect of kindness. Here's the beautiful part. When you start being kind, the world responds. You'll notice that people treat you differently. They respect your time, your boundaries, and your energy. You'll feel more confident, more authentic, and more at peace. But more than that, kindness is contagious. When you show others that it's possible to care without being a pushover, to help without being used, and to give without losing yourself, you inspire them to do the same. So, if you've been stuck in the cycle of niceness, it's time to break free. It's time to embrace the power of kindness. Because kindness isn't just about being good to others, it's about being good to yourself. And when you do that, everything else falls into place. Make this shift today. Start choosing kindness over niceness. Stand your ground, speak your truth, and set boundaries, all while staying compassionate. And watch how your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. 4. How to start being kind, not nice. Now that we've uncovered the truth about being nice and why it can backfire, the question is, how do you stop? How do you transition from being that overly agreeable person who's always trying to keep the peace to someone who is truly kind, someone who commands respect, maintains self-worth, and builds authentic connections? Let me break it down for you. Here's how you can shift from being nice to being kind in a way that changes your life. First, set boundaries without guilt. Let's start with the foundation of kindness, boundaries. Without boundaries, kindness is impossible. Why? Because when you say yes to everything, you're essentially saying no to yourself. And let me tell you, no one respects a person who doesn't respect themselves. If this sounds familiar, here's your first step. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. I know it's easier said than done. You've probably spent years saying yes because you were afraid of disappointing others or creating conflict. But here's the truth. If people can't handle your no, then they don't respect you in the first place. Think of it this way. Every time you say yes to something you don't want, you're stealing time, energy, and peace from yourself. Is that worth it? Absolutely not. Here's how you do it. The next time someone asks for a favor or makes a demand, pause. Ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Do I have the time, energy, and willingness to help right now? If the answer is no, say so, firmly but kindly. For example, instead of saying, I'll do it even though I'm super busy, say, I'd love to help, but I just don't have the time right now. Instead of saying, okay, I'll come even though I'm exhausted, say, thanks for inviting me, but I need some rest tonight. maybe next time. The first few times you do this, it'll feel uncomfortable. You might even feel guilty. But over time, you'll realize that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary, because here's the truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. Second, be honest, not fake. The second step to being kind is honesty. And I don't mean brutal honesty where you hurt people's feelings. I mean authentic honesty, where you speak your truth without fear. When you're nice, you're often fake. You say what people want to hear, not what you actually believe. You pretend to agree when you don't. You hide your real feelings to avoid conflict. But here's the thing, fake niceness is exhausting, and people can sense it. Kindness, on the other hand, is rooted in honesty. It's about being real, even when it's uncomfortable, because people don't need you to sugarcoat the truth. They need you to be authentic. Here's an example. Let's say a friend asks for your opinion on something, but you don't agree with them. A nice response would be to nod and say, "Yeah, that's great," even though you're thinking the opposite. But a kind response would be to say, "I see where you're coming from, but I have a different perspective. Can I share it with you?" See the difference? One is fake and shallow, while the other is honest and respectful. Being honest might feel risky at first. You might worry that people will get upset or pull away, but here's what actually happens. When you're honest, you build trust. People appreciate your authenticity, even if they don't always agree with you. And over time, you'll attract the kind of people who value you for who you truly are. Third, balance empathy with self-respect. Finally, the key to being kind is finding the balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. This is where most people struggle. When you're nice, you're all about empathy. You prioritize other people's feelings, comfort, and needs above your own. And while empathy is important, too much of it can leave you drained, resentful, and invisible. Kindness, on the other hand, is about balanced empathy. It's about caring for others without sacrificing your own well-being. Here's what that looks like. If a friend is going through a tough time, kindness means being there for them, but it also means taking a step back if their struggles start to overwhelm you. If a colleague asks for help, kindness means offering support, but it also means setting limits if their demands become too much. If a loved one crosses a boundary, kindness means addressing it calmly and firmly, rather than letting it slide to avoid conflict. The key is to remember this. Your well-being matters just as much as everyone else's. Caring for others is a beautiful thing, but it should never come at the expense of your own mental, emotional, or physical health. Think of it like this. You're a cup of water. If you keep pouring into others without refilling yourself, you'll eventually run dry. But if you take care of yourself, if you refill your own cup, you'll have even more to give. The shift starts with you. Transitioning from being nice to being kind isn't easy, but it's worth it. It's about shifting your mindset, breaking old habits, and learning to prioritize your own value. Start small. Say no when you need to. Speak your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. And most importantly, balance empathy with self-respect. Because here's the ultimate truth. When you're kind, not only do you build healthier relationships, but you also build a stronger, happier, and more authentic version of yourself. And that is the greatest gift you can give to yourself and to the world. 5. The rewards of being kind over time. When you make the shift from being nice to being kind, something remarkable happens. At first, it's subtle. You notice people treating you differently. You start to feel more at peace. But over time, the transformation is life-changing. Choosing kindness over niceness doesn't just impact your relationships, it redefines how you see yourself, your life, and the world around you. Let's dive into the incredible rewards that come from living a life of kindness, not forced niceness. First, you gain unshakable confidence. Let's start with something most people crave: confidence. But I'm not talking about the fake kind of confidence that comes from external validation, the "oh, they liked my idea, so I must be good enough" kind of confidence. No, I'm talking about unshakable, real confidence that comes from within. Here's the thing: when you're nice, you rely on other people's approval to feel good about yourself. You say yes to things you don't want to do, hoping they'll like you more. You smile through situations that make you uncomfortable because you don't want to upset anyone. But deep down, this behavior chips away at your self-esteem. Kindness flips the script. When you're kind, you're not trying to impress anyone. You're staying true to yourself. You set boundaries, you say no when you need to, and you stand by your values. And with each choice, you build a foundation of self-respect. Over time, this turns into a quiet but powerful confidence. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop worrying about what others think because you know who you are. That kind of confidence is unshakable, and no amount of external criticism or rejection can take it away from you. Second, you create a positive impact on the world. Here's something you might not realize. When you choose kindness over niceness, you're not just changing your own life, you're inspiring others. Think about it. When people see you setting boundaries while still being compassionate, it sends a powerful message. You can care for others without losing yourself. You become an example of balance, someone who shows others that strength and kindness can coexist. This ripple effect is enormous. Your actions encourage others to respect themselves, set boundaries, and stop bending over backward just to please people. Kindness is contagious. It inspires, empowers, and uplifts. And the beauty of it is that this impact is genuine. It's not about making people like you. It's about showing them a better way to live. When you live with kindness, you create a positive ripple effect that extends far beyond your immediate circle. Third, your life becomes authentic. Let me ask you this: how many times have you worn a fake smile or said something you didn't mean just to keep the peace? How often have you suppressed your true feelings, pretended to agree, or played a role just to fit in? This is what happens when you live a life of niceness. It's exhausting, and worst of all, it's fake. Kindness changes everything. When you're kind, you don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to fake a smile or agree with something you don't believe in. You don't have to play the role of the nice person who never has an opinion or a boundary. Instead, you attract people and situations that align with your true self. You build relationships based on mutual respect and authenticity. And let me tell you, there's no greater feeling than knowing you're surrounded by people who value you for who you really are, not who you're pretending to be. Living authentically means living freely. You stop worrying about pleasing everyone, and you start focusing on what truly matters to you. It's like shedding a heavy mask you've been wearing for years. 4. You protect your mental health. This is a big one. If you've ever felt drained, stressed, or resentful from constantly trying to be nice, you're not alone. Niceness takes a toll on your mental health because it requires you to put everyone else first, always. When you choose kindness, you break free from this cycle. Why? Because kindness is liberating. It allows you to care for others without sacrificing your own well-being. Here's what happens. You stop overcommitting yourself to things you don't want to do. You let go of the guilt that comes with saying no. You reduce the stress that comes from constantly worrying about what others think. Instead of feeling drained, you feel energized. Instead of feeling resentful, you feel fulfilled. Kindness creates space in your life for your own growth, happiness, and peace. And as your mental health improves, everything else follows. Your relationships, your productivity, and your overall quality of life. Kindness changes everything. Let me leave you with this. Kindness isn't just an action, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of living that transforms not only how people see you, but also how you see the world. When you choose kindness over niceness, you gain confidence, authenticity, and peace. You create meaningful connections and inspire others to do the same. And most importantly, you build a life that feels real, a life that's true to who you are. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop being nice and start being kind? Because once you make that shift, you'll wonder why you ever lived any other way. So remember, being nice might win temporary approval, but being kind will earn you lasting respect. The world doesn't need more people who say yes to everything. It needs people who are compassionate, strong, and true to themselves. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this today. Let's redefine what it means to have a good heart. Kindness is power, and it's time you embrace it. So, which one will you choose to be, nice or kind? The choice is yours.